The sun was shining brightly, casting a golden glow over the sprawling beach. Waves lapped gently against the shore, their soothing rhythm blending harmoniously with the distant laughter of families and the cries of seagulls circling overhead. I took a deep breath, letting the salty air fill my lungs, as I watched Alex dart ahead of me, his small feet kicking up sand. His laughter was infectious, a pure melody that tugged at my heart. Days like these reminded me of how precious he was, my anchor in a world that had often felt stormy and uncertain.
Mom.
"Look at this shell," Alex shouted, his voice carried by the wind as he knelt by the waterline. I smiled, walking toward him. His small hands held up a gleaming white seashell, its edges smooth and worn by time. "It's perfect, isn't it?" he asked, his eyes wide with excitement. "It's beautiful," I replied, ruffling his sandy hair. Moments like these felt like small treasures, ones I clung to tightly. Raising Alex alone hadn't been easy, but his joy made every challenge worth it. We spent the next hour building sandcastles, our laughter mingling with the sound of the waves. Alex's hands worked furiously, piling sand into towers and walls, while I carved moats and added finishing touches. "This is the strongest castle ever," Alex declared proudly, his face smeared with sand. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, I noticed something odd. Alex kept glancing over his shoulder, his gaze fixed on a spot further down the beach. At first, I thought nothing of it. Perhaps he was distracted by the bustling crowd or a passing seagull. But then he tightened his grip on a small object in his hand, something I hadn't seen him pick up. "Alex, what's that?" I asked, curious. "Nothing, Mom," he replied quickly, tucking it behind his back. His tone was light, but there was something guarded in his expression, something I couldn't quite place. "Are you sure?" I pressed gently, crouching down to meet his eyes. He hesitated, then nodded.
It's just a surprise.
"You'll see." Before I could ask more, he suddenly bolted, his small figure darting across the sand toward the far end of the beach. My heart jumped, a mixture of confusion and alarm flooding my chest. "Alex," I called after him, rising to my feet. He didn't stop, his focus unwavering as he raced toward a shadowy figure standing near the shoreline. Panic prickled at the edges of my thoughts. Who was that? Why was Alex running toward them? I started after him, my feet sinking into the soft sand as I tried to keep up. The closer I got, the more unease settled over me. The figure was tall, their stance rigid as they waited. And Alex, he seemed to know them. My heart pounded as questions swirled in my mind, but one thought stood out above the rest. I needed to reach him. As I closed the distance between us, my breath came in short gasps, a mixture of exertion and worry. Alex had already reached the figure by the time I got close enough to see them clearly. The man stood tall, his back to me, with broad shoulders that seemed strangely familiar. Alex handed him something, his small hand outstretched, and the man bent slightly to take it. "Alex," I called, my voice sharp with concern. The man straightened immediately, turning to face me. For a moment, my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. It was Liam. His face, older but unmistakable, sent a rush of memories flooding back, memories I hadn't dared revisit in years. Liam looked just as startled as I felt. "It's been a long time," he said finally, his voice low and filled with an odd mix of hesitation and relief. "What are you doing here?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. My eyes darted to Alex, who stood between us with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I can explain," Liam said, raising his hands slightly as though to calm me. "I didn't mean to surprise you like this." I turned to Alex, my heart sinking. "You knew he was coming?" Alex shuffled his feet, looking down at the sand. I found a picture of you and him in Dad's old things. I just thought." He trailed off, biting his lip. "Alex, why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice softening despite my confusion. "Because you're always so sad, Mom," he said quietly, his words hitting me like a wave. I thought maybe he could help. Liam's gaze met mine, and for a moment, I saw the same grief I'd carried for so long reflected in his eyes. I didn't know he'd contact me, he said, his tone apologetic. But when he did, I couldn't ignore it. I crossed my arms, trying to shield myself from the whirlwind of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. You ignored us for years, Liam. After he died, you disappeared without a word. And now you just show up? He flinched at my words, but didn't look away. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said. I didn't want to interfere or make things harder for you. But I see now that leaving was a mistake. Alex tugged at my hand, his voice small. Mom, I just wanted you to be happy again. My heart ached at his sincerity. I glanced at Liam, searching his face for answers. There was regret there, but also something deeper, something I wasn't sure I was ready to confront. I don't know what you expect from this, I said finally, my voice heavy with the weight of years gone by. I don't expect anything, Liam said. But I want to make things right if you'll let me. I looked at Alex, his hopeful expression tearing at my resolve. My son, the one constant in my life, had reached out to someone from my past in an attempt to heal a wound I'd tried so hard to ignore. I didn't know if I could trust Liam again, but for Alex's sake, I had to try. The silence between us felt heavy as I struggled to process everything. Alex stood close, his small hand gripping mine, while Liam kept his distance, his eyes never leaving my face. There were so many questions, so many emotions, and yet all I could focus on was the ache in my chest, the memories this moment stirred up. Why now? I asked, my voice quieter than before. Why, after all these years, would you suddenly come back? Liam hesitated, his gaze dropping to the sand as if searching for the right words. Because I couldn't keep running from this, he said finally. From you. From what I feel. His words hung in the air, raw and unguarded. I blinked, unsure of what to say. What you feel, I echoed, my voice tinged with disbelief. I loved him too, Liam said, his tone steady but pained. He was my best friend. Losing him was like losing a part of myself. But being around you, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't want to cross a line or make things harder for you. I shook my head, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. So, instead, you left us to deal with it alone. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? How much I relied on you, and then you were just gone. Liam stepped closer, his expression earnest. I thought leaving was the best way to protect you. I was wrong. I see that now. But please believe me, it wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I cared too much. I looked away, tears stinging my eyes. His words reopened wounds I thought had scarred over. You don't just get to walk back into our lives and expect me to forgive you. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said softly. I'm asking for a chance to make things right. Alex tugged at my hand, his voice tentative. Mom, he's not trying to hurt you. I just thought, maybe you'd want someone to talk to, someone who understands. His innocence was disarming, and I couldn't find it in me to be angry with him. He was just a child, trying to bring light back into a life that had felt so dim for so long. I don't know if I can trust you again, I admitted, my voice trembling. After everything, I don't even know if I want to try. Liam nodded, his expression filled with understanding. I don't blame you, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere this time. I want to be there for you and for Alex, in whatever way you'll let me. There was a sincerity in his voice that made it impossible to dismiss him entirely. I looked at Alex, his hopeful eyes searching mine, and something inside me softened. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about my son, about giving him a sense of family, even if it meant taking a risk. I don't know where this leads, I said finally, my voice steadying. But for Alex's sake, I'll hear you out. Liam's shoulders relaxed slightly, and for the first time, there was a glimmer of relief in his expression. That's all I'm asking for, he said quietly. I wasn't ready to forgive, not yet. But maybe, just maybe, this was the first step toward something new. The three of us sat together on the beach, the waves crashing gently in the background. The air felt heavy, filled with unspoken words and lingering tension. Alex played idly with a stick in the sand, drawing random shapes as Liam and I faced the conversation we'd been avoiding for so long. I didn't know how to reach out, Liam began, his voice steady but tinged with regret. Every time I thought about calling or coming to see you, I convinced myself you'd be better off without me. That you didn't need someone dragging you back to the past. I sighed, the weight of his words pressing against my chest. You made that decision for me, Liam. You left without even asking if I needed you. You don't know what those years were like. He nodded, his expression somber. I know I can't undo that. And I can't imagine the strength it took for you to raise Alex on your own. But I'm here now, and I'm not running anymore. I studied him, trying to gauge if this was truly different. There was a vulnerability in his eyes that I hadn't seen before, a determination that made me pause. You hurt me, I said quietly. You were one of the only people I thought I could count on, and then you just disappeared. Liam leaned forward, his hands resting on his knees. I know, and I'll never stop regretting that. But I also know that I can't go back and change it. All I can do is try to show you that I'm here now for real. Alex looked up from his drawing, his young voice breaking through the tension. Mom, I know you're mad, but maybe this can be good? We could all try to be happy together. His words hit me harder than I expected. For so long, I'd been focused on keeping it together for Alex, on making sure he didn't feel the weight of the loss I carried. But in doing so, I'd built walls around myself, shutting out the possibility of something better. I glanced at Liam, the man who had once been such an integral part of our lives, and I saw someone who was trying, someone who seemed willing to face the mistakes he'd made. It didn't erase the hurt, but it did make me wonder if there was room for something new. I don't know how to move forward from this, I admitted, my voice soft. But I'm willing to try. For Alex, and maybe for us. Liam's eyes softened, a faint smile tugging at his lips. That's all I've wanted. A chance to prove that I can be the person you and Alex need me to be. Alex beamed, his excitement lighting up the moment. Does that mean we can be a family? I hesitated, the word family carrying so much weight. It means we'll take it one step at a time, I said, reaching out to squeeze Alex's hand. No promises, no rushing. Just seeing where this leads. Liam nodded, his expression filled with gratitude. I can work with that. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the beach, I felt a small spark of hope. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a beginning, a chance to rebuild, to let go of some of the pain and maybe, just maybe, to find a way